What are some common forms of sexism that men face? The employee bathrooms at my job have been scheduled for an update. The work on the men's room started a week or two ago Monday and ended this past Monday morning, during which time the men had to use the public customer bathroom and the women continued to use their employee bathroom. On Monday afternoon, when the work began on the women's room, the newly refurbished, as yet unused by a single man, men's room became a temporary women's bathroom until the work on the new women's bathroom is finished. So the men have to go several weeks without an employee bathroom, while the women never have to go a single day without one. Not exactly common, but it otherwise fits the question and is currently on my mind. Sort of similar, the girls' bathroom at my school apparently have mirrors, locks on the bathroom stalls and soap dispensers. Guess what the guys have? This is one my mother does to my brother and I. She says my brother and I have to keep our doors open at all times, unlike our sister who doesn't have to. When we ask why, she says this: "Your sister is a girl and girls need privacy. Guys don't." I'm pretty sure I deserve a bit of privacy too, Mum. Just ask her to list the differences in privacy that girls and guys need. Make her understand that most things girls need privacy for, guys do too, such as changing clothes or talking on the phone. When I was 19 years old and I worked for a boys and girls club, it was an elementary level club. I was the only male staff there, so the little kids there would always call me Big Brother and run up and hug me. The director there called me into the office and asked me not to let the kids hug me. I said the other female staff members would hug the kids all the time, and even in front of their parents as they would leave the club for the day. The director told me it's a different perspective when a male staff member hugs the kids rather than the female staff. WTF? So do people view all males as these sexual predators or something? The day the director told me that, I felt sad because it made me feel like I was some type of pedo or something like that. One thing I learned while working with little kids, take it or leave it, is that if they ever come to you for a hug, turn a bit to the side so when they hug you, they don't have their head in your crotch area, and it also doesn't disappoint the kids because you're denying the hug. It's the best of both. You cover yourself and the kid are happy because at that age they really don't understand what is going on, aka the discrimination between men and women. They just know they like you and show it by wanting to give you a hug. Teaching, in the UK at least, primary schools have almost no male teachers due to the stigma of a man working with young children. They are screaming for male teachers though, in Scotland anyway. It's society, not the schools, that's pushing the inequality. I was stalked by an ex. Everyone was like, "You must have given it to her good, lol." To top it off, I was treated like the criminal every time I called the cops. When I went to file for a restraining order, I had to ask 3 times because they kept referring me to a courtroom, assuming I had been served. And the icing? The judge I finally got treated me like I was a whiny baby and gutted the restraining order. I'm still convinced the only reason I got it at all was I had my family there for support. TLDR, domestic court system is biased against men start to finish. I witnessed this happen to a really good friend of mine, and I hated it. Every time that girl got close, I would be sure to keep her away from him as much as possible. He worked as an RA in college with me, and at one point called the cops on her because she kept stalking him and breaking in to prevent him from having any relationship with any person that was a girl. My husband, a father of 4 girls, regularly gets security called on him if he is seen taking his daughters to the bathroom alone. It's gotten to the point where he won't go out with the little ones without me and him. That's horrible. I'm a single dad. I take her into the guy's bathroom with me when it has to happen and can't wait. When a guy or security says something, it's usually greeted by another guy saying, "Hey, he's letting his kid take a pee. Back off." Not being trusted around children. I fear for any day that I'm in public with my niece and her parents aren't nearby. Little kids can become emotional and are too young to understand the ramifications of shouting something like, "You're not my dad," when they get told something they don't want to hear. There's kind of a social stigma that men can't talk about how they're feeling. This is probably why suicide statistics with men are stupidly high. That, and men are valued only if they accomplish something. Women complain that they are viewed like a physical item. At least you merely existing seems to give you value. This seems to push men to believe if they fail in any way, that they don't deserve to live. This, coupled with your comment, and it makes for a hefty suicide toll. Just recently noticed something that bugs me a bit. I grew a beard throughout October to December. My girlfriend and all the women on her side of the family were quick to offer their criticism. I didn't really care too much and took it lightly. But after a while, I couldn't help but imagine what it would be like if the tables were turned. Like if my girlfriend started wearing a shirt she just bought and really loves, but my brother, dad, and myself criticized it every time she wore it. That would be screwed, and people would take her side immediately. Talk horribly about my choice to grow a bit of facial hair? No one bats an eye. Beard shaming is a thing. Flying by myself, and as I was walking toward my seat, I'm a woman, the air hostess loudly asked if I would swap seats with any guy around the same age as me, early 20s, because we can't have single men sit next to unaccompanied minors. Guy looked super nice, but I will always remember how embarrassed he looked as we shuffled past each other to swap seats with everyone staring. I wish I had more confidence at the time to say something to the airline. I'm a single guy in my late 20s. Happens to me all the time. I'm also a medical resident, and you'd be shocked at how often even doctors need female chaperones to see their own patients. Someone almost called the police on me for going to my little sister's softball game. I'm a 24-year-old male. She's 8. I hugged my sister and said, "Good job." Woman yells and pushes me away, pulls out phone to dial 911. Luckily, my mom was there. My mom has sworn at a nun and got me an A- for accidental plagiarism. After a yelling match, I got away with the crime of hugging my sister. I don't even go to her school functions because of this problem, which makes her suffer as my sister wants me to go. I collected toys when I was in my early 20s and went to TRS and other toy shops regularly. Got a lot of dirty looks from people. Thankfully, no one ever called the cops, or that I know of. No help for domestic abuse. Or it just gets laughed off and people don't really care. I've witnessed that with my father. The whole dad is the irresponsible, clueless parent thing we see in advertisements and such. The fact is, the majority of fathers are just as good as the majority of mothers. Mothers are just as capable of being bad parents too. Stop teaching kids that dad doesn't know anything. It's marketing driven by housewives that do all the buying. Parenting is simply referred to as babysitting. Terrible attitude that is. My close friend's wife died in the last 6 months. He has had many a mother at the park say, "Daddy daycare today," referring to his 2-year-old. The 2-year-old he now has to raise on his own. I live for the day he has the balls to tell them the real reason he's at the park with his own kid. When they are victims of sexual abuse or domestic abuse, it often isn't taken as seriously as when women report the experiences. I can't count the amount of times I've heard, "You hit your mom?" No, I defended myself against an abusive psychopath. You're not allowed to cry. Men are allowed to cry, but only in the shower whilst gently hitting their fist against the wall. Young men in every society are viewed as infinitely disposable. They're cannon fodder. Everyone is flawed when female civilians are victims of a battle in war. No one cares about the young male soldiers, most of which were either conscripts or forced into the military due to lack of opportunity. I was pretty much raised by my mother and older sister. It was very common for them to use sentences that started with "real men." I figured out that it was a means of bullying and manipulation because how they directed it at me. When I'd get bullied to tears, I'd be told, "Real men don't cry." When they wanted to take something from me, they'd say, "A real man gives anything to a woman." When I was asked to do something that required a lot of strength and I struggled, I was told, "A real man can do it." So on, so forth. It really sucked. My mother has a lot more respect for me now. I still get the real men spiel from my sister when she wants something and doesn't want to ask respectfully. I'm normally very calm and pacifistic by nature, but those two words directed at me negatively makes me irrationally angry. This is probably terrible, but I get this from my wife once in a blue moon, and my response is always a snapback of, "A real woman," then something blatantly sexist like, "doesn't drive herself." Now, strangely, these events happen in the car when she's driving a lot, or "doesn't work a day job." It always follows with a begrudging look and a mumbled apology. Just sharing, don't know what should be taken from this. If a man is in an abusive relationship with a woman and she attacks him, when the cops are called, the man still gets arrested. It happened recently to my brother. She attacked him at work, on camera, went home and called the cops telling a story. He got picked up from work and spent the weekend in jail. Now he has to prove to the courts that he doesn't. He had to see a female psychologist that saw him for 10 minutes, then decided that he was definitely an abuser. Bet he'll never try to stand up to her again. That rape on males is not taken seriously at all. A few nights ago, I was at a work party and one of my female work colleagues kept joking about how she wanted to rape me, and no one batted an eyelid. It was so surreal. If it was reversed, I would have lost my job. Report that to HR. She will lose her job. If she doesn't, get a restraining order and she cannot go to work. If your employer pushes back, sue and enjoy the settlement vacation while you find a better job. If you told a female coworker that you want to rape her, you would deservedly be thrown under the bus. However, if you decide to ignore it and let her get away with it, you're just perpetuating the problem.